not necessarily the case that they make a relay, but I'm going for that's my first comment. Thank you.
As a woman, may I say that we are never more pleased than when we see a man defending women's rights. That's by far the best thing we could possibly have. There are fortunately certain prizes for women, such as the L'Oreal and UNESCO joint prize for women in science, which work both globally, worldwide, and in certain countries, including Latvia, and are extremely beneficial to women scientists. But that's in our case in hard sciences. The next speaker is my distinguished rapporteur, Mr. Robert Kroll.
Thank you. President Fratarga mentioned briefly her experience in connection with the European Research Council, where she was head of the evaluation committee. I have seen this quick council from inside, being member of the scientific council, and I want to share with you my experience there. The first thing about Chile. When I was appointed as member of the Scientific Council, one journalist asked me whether I could define excellence, because he declared that the main selection rule is excellence. I told them I am unable to, but if I am sitting down with anyone and speak for 5 minutes about his or her research or activity, then I know. Now I think this is a message, and then that says that the selection committee is very important, because they, or those who propose, they should decide on this type of qualities. Now the other thing what I want to say is a definition of the scientist, which was given by a Nobel Prize winner, Albert Szent-Györgyi, who said that the scientist, by walking around in the world, sees the same thing what anyone else sees. But at the same time he comes to ideas which has never come into mind of anyone before. I think this type of definition should be one of the elements of the selection rule. Now the second issue that I want to briefly mention is whether anyone is recognized or non-recognized. This is a very delicate issue. In my country we have a proverb saying that no one is a prophet at home. So first of all then, we should look who has not been recognized at home, if you take this definition seriously. But I think this leads us. Anyway, unrecognition has to be taken very carefully, because I think many people are who think that they were excellent and they were recognized. So anyway, of course, no one should be asked about him or himself. The first thing, I think it has been mentioned in several cases that there are many prices and we should not invent another similar price. I think it would be a waste of money, energy, reputation, and so on. So what should be then in addition added to the selection rules? In fact, I think one of them should be the impact of the activity on other fields. So if a physicist who had impact on society or on medicine or whatsoever. And the other thing is, and I think this is even more important especially now, whether that type of activity can be put as an example, as an idol for the young generation. And therefore, I agree that the recipient should not be young people, but it shouldn't be for life achievement. It should be for something which can be shown to the young generation that, look, if you are working hard, if you are educated properly, then you have the Marshall stick in your pocket, and you may get it, but you should be there as an example of the others. This has a moral impact, it has an environmental impact, it has an ethical impact. I think this is what some of you mentioned as a general umbrella of this type of prize. Anyway, main message, it should not be the same as any of the prizes. One thing more for the selection process. Each prize is something which more people would deserve than who would get it. So those who do not get the prize and that is found an additional element of being an idol or having an impact or something like that, should be one database for the selection committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A number of ideas I think that Mr. Kroes, I'm sure, will be able to note down and not forget them. Mr. Jean Vieux.
Thank you very much. I would like to say three thoughts. The first one is Tesla passed away in the year 1943. Is that right? If 43. Okay, is that right? Next year should be the 60th memory year of Nikola Tesla. Not 70s, not 60. 70s.
We are not mathematicians.
There are some. I'm sure.
70s, okay. Thank you. And the second thought is about actually Tesla was not really unrecognized because according to my knowledge, Thomas Edison and Tesla were mentioned. As mentioned as potential laureate to share the Nobel Prize in 1950s. So actually, this leading to one of the several Nobel Prize controversies. Some sources have claimed that because of their animosity toward each other, neither was given the award, despite their scientific contributions. That each sought to minimize the other's achievements and the right to win the award. That both refused even to accept the award if the other received it first, and that both rejected any possibility of sharing it. This is from the one source from the internet. If so, actually Tesla was not really unrecognized. So the third source, according to the second one, is what should be the relationship or differences between the Tesla Prize and the Nobel Prize. Maybe as a supplement of Nobel Prize, especially also consider some other fields, including social science fields. Otherwise, what is the relationship or differences between these two prizes? So, thank you.
As a social scientist, again, I greet this introduction of the social sciences because, as you know, people like Herbert Simon, who actually laid the foundations of modern cognitive science, got his Nobel Prize for some inventions in economics, which some consider by far less valuable to society than what he did in cognitive science. But these are matters of debate. And of course, you have reiterated the track record of the Nobel Prize, which leaves much to be desired. Our next speaker is Mr. Arvo Slavs.
Sorry for speaking again, but let me say that I have a feeling that we are undertaking a major road for ourselves. To start with, it seems that yes, let me start from the beginning. I think our group has really decided to undertake a major and responsible job. The job is to launch a new prize, and in the introductory remarks, we agreed that the prize is needed. We also want the prize that would somehow specify geniuses. So this immediately tells that there is a difference between, let's say, what we want to do and what, let's say, a Nobel committee does for the Nobel Prize. And let's see what are the differences. Over there, more than 100 years ago, it has been established that one outstanding academy, and this was the Academy, the Royal Academy of Sweden, will give the prizes. Then, of course, when it was extended, it was the Norwegian Academy included as well. And these prizes were very clearly defined. Specifically, for instance, there was no prize for mathematics. Okay, there was prize for physics, for medical sciences, research, and so on. Now, once we emphasize the word geniuses, I don't think that what we want is to have prizes for any of these disciplines that exist, nor for those that don't exist and just enlarge it. Basically, I think our emphasis should be on things which are inter- and transdisciplinary, and the things which actually aim toward being focus on the welfare of humankind. So this, I think, should be the primary thing. And it should be also, as we see over here on this slogan, which is above our name, building tomorrow together. So the idea is to look forward. Of course, it is very difficult to be capable of identifying somebody at a very young age and to say, yes, that is a particular person who will do this. And I think that rather we should really be focusing on persons, and maybe singular or maybe plural, ideally maybe from several different countries. I think as opposed to the situation which we have in the Nobel Prize, where of course an outstanding job is being done by an academy that is a European academy. We should try to do as much as possible internationally. And when our president, Gilbert File, approached me to be in this very distinguished committee, we immediately thought of the possibility, and this is why you have here the logo of the World Academy, that the World Academy, that in its foundation, among its founders were Einstein, Rothbard, Russell, Bohr, and so on, and several others, like, for instance, Buckminster Fuller, and Newton, and so on. The foundation of the World Academy was to act as an agency for human welfare. So whatever the World Academy can contribute to this, and around this table I see at least 7 or 8 fellows of the World Academy, I think we will be very willing and ready to contribute to this very demanding process. My feeling is that actually, most likely through the entire day today, we will be having a better course to discuss on the ideas and the way how we will do it. And I think another institution, rather the UN organization, that would be ideal to get involved into this would be UNESCO. And I see, of course, your presence here as being a very active support of this idea, because let us not forget that UNESCO is one of those organizations that really is the pillar of the system of the United Nations that has been so successfully built in spite of all the criticism we may have toward the UN system. It is still the best we have in the government structure, and UNESCO is one of the best, starting from its first, I think the first founding director was Julian Huxley, if I'm not mistaken, and of course a Nobel laureate and very outstanding person who I think one of his important words reads that actually a human being is in charge of human evolution and of the entire evolution of the world, and that is an important message of Central America.
Mr. Yugoslavs has reminded us of the fundamental message and aim of the prize to include this aspect of benefit to humanity. And of course we haven't really come around yet to anything like approaching a definition of what such benefit might entail. A second suggestion is to use existing organizations or structures insofar as they can contribute to setting this up. Mr. Mark Brown.
Good morning. I had the extraordinary great fortune to have worked with genius, so I can recognize genius. For 30 years, and there were 3 things that were very apparent having worked with this person for 30 years. One was that he worked at the interface of sciences, across sciences, transdisciplinarily. And as we all know, increasingly in this day and age, the lines between the sciences are blurring. And so I would, one, recommend that this award be given for people who are working at the interface across the sciences and not within a particular discipline. Another thing that I observed was that he was rarely recognized in the science where he was making a huge contribution because of the very fact that the contributions he were making was making were at cross purposes, so to speak, with the recognized dogma of that particular science. So we have to be very careful in our evaluation of the criteria to ensure that we're not just recognizing people who are still working within the current paradigm or the current dogma of that particular science. And finally, he was often chastised by the very sciences in which he eventually became quite well recognized. And so again, this idea that cross-science is very important, and I think it should be a systems science award rather than an award within any particular science. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Governor Mehta.
Thank you, Chair. I think it is very important for us to have clarity as to where this prize should be positioned. If it is going to be like Nobel Prize, then obviously we have to use a slightly different criteria. But if following the spirit of what has been suggested, this is something supreme. So I guess if you want to position it as something even higher, the Nobel Prize on a global scale, then I think the formulation of unrecognized genius is untenable. Because all awards are given in recognition of something which is tangible. I would therefore suggest that for this particular prize, we should say that this prize would be awarded to the individuals whose contributions have left a transformative footprint on humanity. That would be very special, and as far as I know, no such formulation today exists. I mean, we have art prizes, we have for areas which are not covered by Nobel Prize, like mathematics, so we have the field medal, which is considered as equivalent to Nobel Prize. We didn't have a Nobel Prize equivalent in engineering. Last couple of weeks, I have heard, and I have been contacted, that to celebrate the 60th anniversary of ascendancy to the throne of Queen Elizabeth Prize in Engineering, which is the equivalent of Nobel Prize in Science has been instituted. So I think we should look for a special niche for this. And my suggestion will be that people who have left transformative footprint with regard to the well-being of the humanity and planet should be the ones who should be guessed.
I think Mr. Mehta come up with a very sonorous phrase, which we should note down very carefully. It would also have an echo, of course, with a carbon footprint that everybody is banding around without always understanding what it means. But it's a term that the common person will understand what we're about. So I think this is an important formulation that we should take note of. Your Excellency Christina Persson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Yes, I agree. That would be a very good criteria for what we are looking for. Because as I had understood the intentions behind the prize, the intended prize, it is, the keywords are benefit of mankind, to the benefit of mankind. And from that I also conclude that it has to be forward-looking. It has to be a prize that gives an award to people, 1, 2 or more people, who are in the process of changing the rules of the game. Because the rules of the game that we are living with today are not working. We have all the knowledge that we need. We have the technical solutions that we need. We have all the financial means that we would need to make a fundamental change in the world. All the big challenges that we live with. Challenges to ecology, challenges to social justice, to the economy, and so on. But we are not using it. And the reason is, of course, it's the lack of leadership. Lack of brave, humanistic, long-term looking leadership. So the genius we're looking for is a leader. Somebody who can make change happen. Somebody who is in the process of making change happen. And we could always ask ourselves also, what kind of changes are the most immediate ones? And as I see it, there are two major challenges that we live with. One is the fundamental contradiction between our economic system, and that is the economic rationality that is governing our societies and our behaviors. The rationality that is short-sighted, that is based on the short-sighted vision and rationality. And instead, and it is in a contradiction to the natural boundaries, the natural sciences boundaries, and is not able to continue in the way that we're living together, that we are living today on Earth. We are consuming 1.5 Earth, globe we are consuming 22. So this has to change, and the big problem is, of course, the second big challenge is that our structure for taking decisions, collective decisions, is organized along the natural boundaries, that we have a democracy that is based on the natural state, and we have very weak institutions for common decision making. So along these two lines, I would like to see the prize developing. The need for common decision making and the need to take decisions that makes economy and natural sciences boundaries go together. Find a way of dealing with these contradictions. Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the central ideas being this of transcending existing barriers and the ability to find common causes. Mr. Ivo Durga.
Good morning again. Still morning. I will continue on the same track, just shortly, because we are somehow passing time. The problem of recognition is itself burdened by values, and as you stated, limits of different kinds. On the other hand, we are facing the global situation, general situation in the world that is by itself a limitation to resolve certain problems we are more or less aware of. The difference could be to identify what is which are the main reasons why the situation is today as it is. So, one of preconditions for critique or discussion about what does it mean a genius in this room or on this planet should be connected with the importance or with the impact of certain activity to resolve the commonly agreed main problems. So one of my suggestion is to include at least the orientational basis to identify the main problems, global aspect, global aspect, because on national level we will have diversity of items, and of course try to surpass or to bypass our culture, sometimes ideological, sometimes our backgrounds, to achieve such criteria that make our question more objective or easier to deal with. Thank you.
So Mr. Duda has reiterated, I think, a theme that is beginning to reappear about transcending existing divisions, barriers, being what the French call cantonnement, being locked into your own field of specialty, and also the aspect of social relevance. Your Excellency, Kathleen Vogel.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning. I honestly think that we are a little bit in a cul-de-sac because we are always going back to the Nobel Prize. we are always somehow thinking about what the Nobel Prize does wrongly, what we should do not wrongly. I really think there is a kind of romantic view, I think, and Mr. Youssef should really say that because that's his idea. But as little time I had last night to talk to him, I really felt that he had this idea to help, meaning giving money to a person who would like to do something very important, but he can't do it because A, B, C, or D. And I think this is a very a practical approach towards a prize. So I think an important point is, what is the money for? Is the money for someone who then can live on that money for in the rest of his or her life? Or this money channeled into a project? Meaning someone could apply to this prize, but with an aim of a project, proving that he just or she just or they, if it's a group, they just can't get the money for that. And actually the committee would then really think whether this project itself is valuable or original enough really to support. I think this is very important. Otherwise, it's a recognition for someone giving a lot of money, but I think we would really channel this money to a very special project which can really be used in the betterment of humanity. I think this is something very important. The other one is, what is unrecognized? Do we talk about not known people, meaning the media doesn't know them, they are not famous? Or are we talking about people who are unrecognized because they are not having prizes, they don't, are given cathedrals in universities, or, you know, what does that mean? I'm just thinking. Or are we talking about people who are not joining the mainstream sort of structure of science or culture or art, because we all have the mainstream, and they are there to sit in their own and to think, and they come up with an idea, but they really can't get through the wall. I think that's also, that would be my second point. And the third point, what are we talking about in terms of the genre? Are we talking only about sciences, social sciences? Are we talking about engineering? Are we talking about arts and literature? What are we, is it for anything? Is it for science per se, or, you know, for what? I think this is also an important thing to point to think about. So that would be my three questions. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Mr. Manasinghe.
Mr. Manasinghe.
Thank you, Chair. First, I